Aloha and welcome to Experience 52. This is part 4 of creating the digits application. And in this part, what we're going to do is add the ability to add and edit contacts. And to do this, we're going to have to use forms. Okay, so this is where forms are going to start to be um, fiddled around with. And um, before even starting this, I want to really emphasize that you want to go through the Meteor example form React. And in particular, you want to watch this screencast. Okay? Really important because I'm going to go into detail about kind of the background of how uniforms is used to build forms in React. And if you understand it, it's really way simpler than doing it the kind of the old-fashioned vanilla way. If you don't understand it, you're going to be tempted to kind of go on Google and try to download something, and it just it's going to be possible you're going to go off into the weeds. So you do have to. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but not that much. And it's really worth it getting comfortable with it because it's just a lot simpler once you understand what's going on. So definitely go through that screencast and feel fairly comfortable with it. And then also, obviously, you're watching this screencast. I think it's fine to watch the screencast first. Maybe take notes if you see things during the screencast that you'd like to kind of remember for later. But don't go through the screencast, pause, and then just type stuff out. It's not. You're not going to learn the material really, I think, effectively from that. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is merge your contacts collection. So I haven't done that. Here I am in contacts collection. And so the way I'm going to do this is go back to master and then merge into current branch contacts collection. And so I merged it. I'm going to push it back to GitHub so I'm safe and sound up there. And so now in my so now I'm free to kind of create things off my master branch, which as many times as I want to do this WOD, and I'll always go back to the state of the system at the point in time when it was the list contacts collection. Okay, so we want to start Meteor using Meteor npm run start, and you can see that we've done that. Everything's running fine, and then if we go to localhost 3000, we can see everything's cool. Things work. Okay. So finally, we're ready to do the WOD pedagogy alert. And so round one, start your timer. So we'll go start. Create a branch called contact forms 1. All right, so we'll create a branch. We're in master. Create a branch, contact forms 1. Let's publish it to GitHub so that we'll have it over there as well. Our application is running. Make sure we've looked at the console. There are no errors there. You can just see. There you go, no errors. And so what we'll do first is create a add contact page by making a copy of the add stuff page. So this is, again, the idea of this template is it provides you with simple examples of the various kinds of things: a simple landing page, simple list page, simple add page. And so I think you can save yourself time when doing development by kind of using these as a basis and understanding how to kind of edit them into the form that you want. So in this case, what we'll do is we got to first change add stuff into add contact. So there's two matches, so we can replace all. And then We change the component name to add contact. We want to change the import of stuffs to import contacts instead. So we'll go back to this import, and instead of importing stuffs, let's import contacts. And just to make life a little easier, I'll just show you. I really think it would be better had I always used relative imports for my code. I'm going to try to do that in future. You can see context is defined but never used, but the relative imports need to come after the absolute import. So I'm just going to move this guy down to the bottom. And that gets rid of that, but we're still not using contacts, so we can pretty much fix that by going here and saying contacts is used there. I think that's the only place. And then we can change the form schema variable to specify the 5 strings to be collected by the form: first name, last name, address, image, and description. So here's our form schema that we're using to lay out the fields. And it's got some stuff in here that is not what we need. So this first one should be, come on, Philip. This first one should be first name, and then we'll do a propeller D and an option delete, last name, address, image, and description. Okay, there's our form schema. And let's see, change the form schema. Okay, we did that. In the submit method, extract the 5 form field names and provide them in the insert call. Don't forget to include the owner field in the insert call. So here's our submit form. And the first thing we need to do is we need to get the fields from the form out of this data object that's being passed. And so, in the case of a contact, the fields are these, right? So we'll get that out of there. We got ourselves an owner. And then we're going to insert the fields plus the owner field. And parenthetically, that's our form schema, has all of the fields from our contacts except for this owner one, right? So that's the difference. Okay, so that's it for the submit form. Let's go back here. In the render method, change the header to add contact and replace the form fields for stuff documents by the 5 form fields for contact documents. We want text fields for all of them except for description, which should be a long text field. Okay, so in the render method, first thing, it's going to be add contact. And then instead of these num fields and select fields, what we're going to have is first name, and then we're going to have last name, and then we're going to have address, and then we're going to have image, and then we're going to have description. But description is going to be a long text field, which we don't know about, and so we're going to change any of these. We'll change this one, long text field, and it's coming from a long text field. These are these predefined. What makes uniforms nice? What makes uniforms nice is it has a binding for semantic UI already in it, so we get a lot of stuff for free here. It's part of what makes this simple. Okay, so we did that render method. Okay. And so the final thing is to create a routing, well, not the final, but the next thing is to create a routing for add contact. So in app.jsx, we're going to change the add stuff to add contact. And in the nav bar, change add stuff to add contact. Okay, so in app.jsx, add should go to add contact. Add stuff should be add contact. And then in the nav bar, instead of add stuff, I want to say add contact. And then I think now we should have a link to add contact in the nav bar. So let's kind of find out. So here's a link to add contact. We click it. We have add contact, but wait, this doesn't look good. That's black. Let's just go back and fix that super quick. So this is our add contact page. The header should be inverted. So let's go back in here. Good, that looks much nicer. Now we want to put something in here, and just for grins, because I like him, we're going to put in Scott Robertson's stuff. Post building, and then the image. There's a nice picture of him. So we'll copy, no, we won't copy the image. We'll copy the image address, and we'll paste that in here. And then we need to find some bio information, which we can find over here. So we'll just kind of copy that, plug that in here, and then press submit. It says successful. So we'll click OK, and then to kind of find out if it's successful, we go to list contacts. So a new page, which is extracting data from the database now, and then we see Scott showing up here. All right, so far so good. We do have an add contact form, looks like that, and then after we add a form, we see the new person, the new contact appear in the list contacts page. Okay, so the next step is to support editing of existing contacts, and the way we're going to do that is first make a copy of edit stuff, and we're going to call that edit contact. So we're going to start our process by taking edit stuff as our base, making a copy, and calling it edit contact. Okay, and then inside edit contact, let's expand the imports. We're going to change occurrences of edit stuff by edit contact. Let's replace all. And import contacts in contact schema, not stuffs in stuff schema. So up here in the imports, we're gonna import contacts schema, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and to make sure I type it all right, I'm going to say .API contact contacts. All right. And then again, we get this error that says these things should go below the absolute one, so he has to go at the bottom. But we still haven't used these guys, defined but never used. So what we can do now is we can say, okay, stuffs should be contacts, and stuff schema should be contacts schema. All right, and then stuffs down here should be contacts. Okay. And then similar to before, if we go to the submit field, just looking at this, we know, well, these have to be our contact field. So first name, last name, address, image, description, and we're getting the ID out of the field as well. So we're going to get rid of this and say first name, last name, address, image description. And unfortunately that goes beyond our line. So I'm going to do that. And I think if we, there we go. Okay, so we've got rid of that hanging space. All right, so that makes our submit actually do an update of the ID with the fields for a contact. And then in render page, again, we got to be rendering the fields associated with the contact schema. And what we could do actually here, we've got these right here. What the heck? Let's copy them. Let's go back to edit contact. And then let's just paste these suckers in. Bam. Okay. What's kind of cool about this is that it actually does an import of the long, you get your import for free. Unfortunately, it's at the wrong place. It comes after a relative import, so we got to move it up. Let's move it up with its friends, up here. These two guys we don't need anymore, so we can delete them. And let's go back to here. So we update submit, update render, and then change the subscription to subscribe to the contacts publication. So this stuff here is not good. It should be, I believe, contacts. Let's just check to make sure. Right, the string is contacts. We should have really, in an ideal world, what we really should do is we should declare a string called contacts publication name, export that from this, and then import that everywhere we use it. That way we have a variable that's bound to the right spelling of that string, and rather than just kind of making sure I've typed that string exactly the same way every place I do it. That's what I do in my other systems. I don't know why I didn't do it here. I guess I wanted to try to keep things simple, but the cost of that is that it'll be, if you get a typo, your subscription will be not working. So I don't know whether that was the best idea or not. All right, so we've finished the edit contact page. Now we want to create a routing to edit contact by editing app.jsx. So let's create the routing. So edit is going to go to edit contact, edit stuff, edit contact, and then we go here and do this. We can just hit return, and now the edit path goes to edit contact. And then we got one more thing to do, which is we need this edit link. Now remember, in our edit stuff, we had, or in our list stuff, I should say, we had a table, and then we had a we printed out rows, and the final row was each row was rendered by a stuff item, and the stuff item had a cell which had a link in it. Okay, well, we got to do basically the same thing, except now we use cards rather than rows in a table to represent items. And so what I recommended you do is just provide this little piece to the bottom of the card, and it'll create this little edit link like that. So that seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to do. So we'll go back to the contact card, and we'll provide another content section. It'll be an extra section. It'll look like that, and then link is not defined, so we just have to add that in here. It's part of the React router DOM because it's used for navigation. And with that, the list context page should include an edit link at the bottom of each card. So let's go back here. And bam, we have that now. And clicking on the link should display a page that looks like this. Okay, so here's where we'll check. Fantastic, it appears. Now if this doesn't appear, if you get a blank page or some kind of problem, what you should do is do a Command Option J to open up the console where you're almost for sure, I've never seen it not appear, you get an error. So read your error message and figure out, what did I forget to do? Because you just forgot some step. Don't freak out. It's going to be fairly simple, and you just have to, kind of look at the error and then retrace your steps and figure out what you forgot to do. One thing I forgot to do is make this inverted because it's showing up as black. So let's go back to the edit stuff. The edit contact page, and in the header, let's make this inverted. And I save that trick by doing explicit save in IntelliJ. That forces a rebuild. It forces the files to be printed immediately, which then triggers the rebuild. And now we can see edit stuff is in white. Okay. Last step, check for ESLint errors. So to do that, we have to Control C out of Meteor, and then we can say Meteor npm run lint. Didn't get any errors. I kind of wish that we'd get an error at some point so you can see what that looks like. Although you know what that would look like, right? You want to see what that would look like? Let's do that. Okay. So then I'll follow shift, and then we'll do npm run lint. Okay. So then we get an error. It says autoform2 is defined but not reused. Autoform is not defined. Okay, so that's pretty clearly a typo. So anyway, I'll do this, and just to be really clear here, Control P brings back the last. That's how you bring back, and then Control N moves forward. More Control P's move back. Okay, so you should know that when you're using a shell, you should know how to do Control N and Control P to retrieve your previous commands without having to retype them every single time. All right, so commit your finished work. We're at right about 20 minutes. So I'll stop my timer. 1939. Commit and push. Contact forms finished in 20 minutes. Commit. Push to GitHub. So we have a backup. And there we go. So that's good. You can always switch back to master now if you want to restart this WAD to do this to the second round through. But I think you're well on your way.